Askreddit. Ladies, what was the worst thing your bridesmaid did on your wedding day? Years ago I was working at a wedding where an ex-boyfriend of one of the bridesmaids showed up uninvited. To set the scene, the event was being held in a military mess club on military property, but no gates or security to keep people out. It's a Canadian thing. So I'm clearing glasses when I see a person sitting at the corner table off to the side that the staff uses for breaks. He's just casually looking around, but he's wearing street clothes, which puts him out of place in a room full of suits and dresses. So I walk over. "Sir, can I help you?" "No, I'm just waiting for one of the guests." "Don't worry, they'll see me." Okay." So I'm thinking this guy is here to drive someone home. A few minutes later, there's a bit of commotion at the head table. Next thing I know, I have a very annoyed bride in my face telling me that he's uninvited and to make him leave. Back to the table. "Sir, you're going to have to leave. You are on military property and not on the guest list for this event." He gets up and I escort him out the door without any trouble. I watch him walk out to the main road and go back to work. Not more than 10 minutes later, I see him come back into the building through a side door that the guests use to go to a smoking area. At this point, it's time to call the military police. He goes and sits back down at the staff table. Again, drama over at the other side of the room with the bride, having an animated discussion with her bridesmaids. The groom and best men are looking on, and I see that this is going to go south really soon. Back over at the staff table. "Sir, I've asked you to leave, and the MPs are on their way. I don't think you understand, but you are on a military base. They can, and they will arrest you, and they will not be nice about it. I'm not going anywhere." So the men of the head table are now coming over. Finally, I have the best man explain to me that this guy is the abusive ex of one of the bridesmaids, and that they tried to keep him away by not telling him where the event was being held. Bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how this plays out. So the men of the head table have now formed a defensive line between the ex and the bridesmaid. The MPs show up and go through a similar spiel. Guy isn't budging. I should have added that this was a Navy base back in the 90s, and it's not like the MPs have never dealt with a drunken sailor. They asked him one more time to leave under escort, and surprisingly he starts to comply. I guess he had made enough of a scene. The MPs are walking him out, there by the main entrance, and oh hell, the bridesmaid yells out his name. The ex stops and suddenly gives a twist to try and break free of the two MPs. Crap, we have resistance. The groomsmen are all looking at the ex, so they are not paying attention to a bridesmaid who is about to break through their cordon. The MPs see what is about to happen, so they lock up the ex's arms and start trying to hustle him down the steps to their patrol car while reporting an incident on their radio. The ex is struggling now, and the MPs are trying to get the door open for the toss. The bridesmaid breaks through the defensive line, which is pretty impressive in heels, and makes a charge. Door is open. The ex is now prone on the seat. I think they smacked his head putting him in the car, so he's trying to kick the MP in the face. The bridesmaid has closed the distance and made the brilliant decision to start punching the MP in the back. Another police car rolls up with sirens. Ex is proclaiming his eternal love. Bridesmaid is trying to get into the backseat with him by any means necessary. One MP is trying to close the door, while the second is struggling to contain the bridesmaid who is trying to claw and kick with her heels. Second batch of MPs are now out with the cuffs, and the bridesmaid suddenly realizes that she's in trouble. The bride is standing in the doorway crying, yelling at this crap show. The bridesmaid is on the hood of the second patrol car getting cuffed, yelling that she's sorry, and the ex is making some muffled comment with an MP over top of him, who I think is punching him in the legs. Best wedding fight I've ever seen. So this happens 25 years ago. My sister was my maid of honor, and I had a friend called Carrie. Her real name, I don't give a crap, was my bridesmaid. Honestly, this woman duck-faced in all my wedding photos. But the worst was yet to come. 2 days after getting married, my husband was killed in a car accident. Did Carrie call me to see how I was? Oh no, she phoned my husband's childhood priest and cried to him about this tragedy. Did I mention she hardly knew my husband? She turned up at the funeral drunk, I lost it, and had to have people hold me back from killing her. We haven't spoken since. Not mine, but I was a guest/photographer at my classmate's wedding. She had her friend from another city come over. It wasn't the typical terrible bridesmaid. In fact, she was very supportive and helping, but it was super clear she was obsessed with getting married. She said things like, "I've already caught 8 bouquets. This one is going to be my number 9. And OMG wore so many wedding dresses to photo shoots. I bet my fiancé won't even be surprised when he sees me in my own, ha ha ha." Her fiancé, who hasn't even proposed to her yet, was there, and every time she talked about her wedding planning, he rolled his eyes, obviously wishing he were somewhere else. Anyway, the wedding went well, and the girl started asking for photos of her and her boyfriend 2 days after the wedding. I told her I'll send them when all the rest are ready, and 2 weeks later they were already not necessary because she and the guy split up. Not married yet, but about to be. My fiancé proposed last year. I immediately told my best friends of 14 and 7 years. We were always the 3 musketeers and have been there for all important experiences in each other's lives. All they could muster up was cool, and yeah, I saw fiancé post about it on Facebook. Okay, whatever. My fiancé and I had been dating for a long time, living together, and very serious for a few years, so the engagement was pretty expected. But I was still surprised and excited, and I wanted them to be too. Regardless, I asked them to be co-people of honor, 1 guy and 1 girl. We are having a non-traditional wedding. They said yes. Every time I brought up the wedding from then on, they would slowly change the subject until the focus was back onto them. Friend 1 was having trouble with her roommates and boyfriend, and she required all my time and empathy. Friend 2 was annoyed with people he worked with and wanted my advice for every move he made. I'd show them color schemes, venues, and dresses I was thinking about, and I'd get, "Yeah, that's nice." I asked them to pick their favorite between the 3. Oh my god. Boyfriend told me I couldn't sing in the car today. They never asked me about the wedding unless I brought it up first, and then it was completely non-committal. Finally, my fiancé and I were getting frustrated doing things by ourselves when my friends asked me what I was planning for my bachelorette party. I told them that, traditionally, they would be the ones to plan it. They laughed and said, "Oh, we wouldn't know what to do. We could go to a bar or something. You'll probably do better if you planned it yourself. We'll be there, though." I told them I didn't feel comfortable with them being co-people of honor anymore, and asked my other good friend, who was my roommate in college for 3 years. She's been amazing. She's genuinely interested in the wedding and so helpful. She makes me grateful and excited every time we plan together. Friend 1 of 14 years recently moved overseas and told me not to count on him coming to the wedding because he'll be too busy and it'll be too expensive. The wedding is a year away, and I offered to pay for his flight and stay. Friend 2 of 7 years has not asked me about the wedding once since I asked her not to be a person of honor 6 months ago. Not me, but my best friend's bridesmaids were supposed to pick her up when she returned from visiting family the day before the wedding, to go out and celebrate at some bars, then to head to a hotel, while us groomsmen and groom hung out at their apartment. After being 30 minutes late, they called and asked her to pick them up from a bar. They had all gotten drunk without her. Then at the hotel, all of the bridesmaids passed out and slept in the beds, while had to sleep on a trashy, uncomfortable couch. The next day at the wedding, they didn't help set anything up. All the groomsmen were demanded by the mom of 2 of the bridesmaids to clean up the entire wedding ourselves, while they all got drunk. My sister was a horrible bridesmaid. She was supposed to be maid of honor, but refused to do any of the responsibilities. She would literally call me a bridezilla and yell at me for nagging her when I asked her to help with anything from planning to decorating. She did make the cake though, in the one flavor I asked her not to use, because my husband and I both hate it. The fondant was lumpy too, but our mom wouldn't stop bragging about how she belonged on Cake Boss, or whatever. She, enabled by our toxic mother, refused to wear any bridesmaid's dress I picked, so she got to pick her own specially made dress. I had no say in it. They both put more effort into that dress than any other part of the wedding. She thought we should cancel part of the bachelorette party that she didn't even plan because her zipper broke and she didn't want us celebrating without her. She screamed vile things at me and stormed off, threatening to ruin the whole night for everyone when I told her we would meet her at the restaurant. I could go on, but those are favorite highlights of her selfish behavior. We no longer talk because I eventually got tired of dealing with her crazy. Not horrible, but it definitely left me feeling kind of down. My bridesmaids dropped the ball with planning a bachelorette party. They said they were planning one, but who knows what happened. Ended up deciding what to do the day of, and we ended up meeting at a pool hall. None of us play pool, and awkwardly played for a couple hours. It was pretty fun. We are all friends, so it wasn't bad, and we had some delicious apps. After about 2 hours or so they started wrapping it up. I thought we were going to go somewhere else after that, or keep hanging out, but apparently that was the end of the night. The waitress came over and asked about checks, and they told her to split them evenly, including me. I paid for myself, which isn't terrible, but definitely isn't tradition, and I have been the maid of honor in 2 of these friends' weddings, a bridesmaid in a third, and in all 3 we planned awesome parties and covered everything. It just felt like no one cared. I put so much into my friends' weddings and they all talk about how much they love when I do things for them like buy gifts or plan things, because everything is so thoughtful and neat. And when it came to me getting married, they decided an hour ahead of time to meet up at a pool hall, play for a few hours, make the bride pay for herself, and then go home. No games, no night out, anything. It just kind of made me feel like crap. I know it's a petty thing to feel like crap about, but with the amount of history in that group, it was a huge letdown. Bleh, oh well. Obligatory not my bridesmaid, but one of my best friends got married a couple of years ago, and one of our other best friends was maid of honor. We were a group of 6, but the bride and maid of honor were inseparable ever since they both found out they were pregnant within a month of each other. The entire wedding and reception maid of honor was in the worst mood ever, to the point that her own father told her to stop being such a spoiled brat on what was meant to be the happiest day of her best friend's life. There's only a handful of photos where she's actually smiling, and at one point in the night her mum's dress had broken, and maid of honor actually screamed and shouted at her for it, like it was her fault, in front of so many people. The reason she was so unbearable? She wanted her new boyfriend to come to the wedding. They'd been together a couple of weeks, but he had been shunned by our entire social circle for stealing thousands of pounds from his friends and employer, and the person he had tried to pin the theft on was a wedding guest. This was the beginning of the end for our friendship, and she did a lot of other crap to me before I washed my hands of her, which of course she turned the entire story, so she is the victim. I chose my best friend of 16 years to be my maid of honor. Big mistake on my part, as she has a strong personality, can be very controlling, and is studying to be a lawyer, so she believes she can never be wrong. About 4 months ago, my fiancé and I were thinking it over and decided it'd be cheaper and easier to just have a backyard wedding to save some money, as we were due to spend at least $16,000 at our current venue. I told my maid of honor about it, thinking she'd be supportive, but instead she just crap all over the idea. She called it trashy and a glorified graduation party. Thinking it would do no harm, I asked her mom if it'd be a possibility for us to have the wedding in her backyard. Due to liability reasons, she declined. The next day my maid of honor confronts me and calls me a crappy person and selfish for going behind her back and asking her mom. They don't have the best relationship, but they still talk every now and then, and I really thought it wouldn't be an issue. I apologized over and over to my friend, while she repeatedly told me I was stupid and didn't know how to use my brain and didn't know what I was doing. I finally ended the conversation by basically kicking her out of the wedding party. We are now getting married in 3 months on the beach in Florida, with a small set of close friends and family. Either my friend doesn't know, or she does, and hasn't bothered to confront me about it. I've only spoken to her once since our fight a few months ago to wish her a happy birthday, and she was a complete crap to me. Sad to say, I lost one of my best friends over my own wedding because I didn't agree with her, and she called me the selfish one.